Welcome back to the talk tonight. Probation officers in Syracuse came under fire in March after authorities said the man accused of murder, rape, and kidnapping in the town of Clay, David Renz, had quickly removed and reassembled his electronic bracelet, so monitors couldn't realize he took it off. Now we know at least some of those people that were responsible for monitoring him have been either fired or demoted from the Syracuse Probation Office, the federal probation office to be specific. Jim Kenyon's been covering this story today and joins us now for the talk segment. And this was really enlightening. You know, we've heard many times over about so-and-so is let out on pretrial release or probation. He's going to wear an ankle bracelet. We know where he is. And then this report comes out, before this letter, even today's story, the report came out from the court and the probation office saying, yes, we figured out that we were getting alerts that there was something wrong. 46 of them. 46 times.
They were ignored.
And they were ignored. We never really knew how this process worked until this case came up, but now we know, and it really wasn't working, was it?
Well, it appears to be something that really focuses on the Syracuse Federal Probation Office.
Specifically, yes.
And they had their own policies of not being alerted unless the monitoring device sounded an alarm for at least 5 minutes. And even after that, though, they were still allegedly not paying attention to these alerts and didn't check to see if David Renz was in fact trying to disassemble his monitoring device, which he was able to do, and with that monitoring device off on March 14th, he allegedly murdered Lori Bresnahan and raped a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah, terribly tragic end to it, and maybe even a little duct tape involved in the way he put it back together. But that brings us all to then how this was investigated, and it also strikes me as almost odd and maybe not right that it's come out in dribs and drabs of what the punishment was or what the accountability level was, and we're finally kind of getting a handle on that now.
Yeah, Dan Maffei requested a letter from the Office of Court Administration. I have a copy of it right here. And basically it is saying this is the first official acknowledgement that people have been fired and demoted, and that there's been a shakeup in that office with retraining, and they're bringing in outside consultants to make sure that this kind of policy isn't allowed to fester in that office.
It's hard to believe that it was a policy at all. I know you talked to Dan Maffei today. Let's listen to a little bit of what he had to say about this letter.
This case, it still makes me sick, just like the first time I heard about it. I mean, the idea that somebody could escape from federal custody and do these horrible crimes.
Now, what's interesting about this is that this letter talks about future policy and procedural changes being affected by budget cuts.
Yeah.
And Maffei is utilizing that to call for an end to all of the sequester, those automatic budget cuts that took place in March, because he feels that this could affect future changes in the probation.
Well, it's one thing to discuss the fact that they might need a better budget in the future, but budget wasn't the problem in the past here, was it?
No, he acknowledges, and I asked him that question flat out. I said, this is really not about funding. This is about people not doing their jobs. Yeah. He acknowledges that.
With just a terrible end to it. Thank you, Jim, for covering that today. Our conversation continues.